started, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, when you started, whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've dimed. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a chaos.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Triple hey for you there. How's everybody doing? My name's Ryan Tamori. This is another Monday edition of the Pit Press Live, and I hope everybody is doing well. Fantastic weekend of sports, and we have a lot to get to today. Want to thank our sponsors, Affordable Solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room, Hydro Bar, and Affordable Service, heating, plumbing, and air conditioning for your HVAC needs. In the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area, Affordable Service has been in business in New Mexico since 1986, and it is still locally owned. During that time, they have served more than 40,000 customers, providing complete residential and light commercial HVAC services, including heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Affordable Service takes pride in its staff and commitment to the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho community. A lot to get to today, but I'm happy to be joined by, as always, a two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Spartans, and our alma mater, and an MVP of a rec league that was 35 years and older of Filipino men. His name's Rick Thompson.
Richard.
Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm recovering still from the football game the other day, but I'm very excited. There'll be basketball played tonight. Just disappointed it won't be on television, but it sounds like it will be on the radio. So looking forward to that and happy to be here.
We're going to recap UNM's football loss to Colorado State, 17-6. That was on Saturday in Fort Collins. And then there's basketball in the Pit tonight. UNM and UTEP will play in an exhibition game that is a charity event, and all proceeds will go to and benefit UNM's Children's Hospital. Tickets for the game begin at $10 and are on sale at golobos.com/tickets. That's probably the first time I'm promoting anything on Go Lobos in quite some time. 420. Don't get that time twisted. Ned James will be joining us. And then at 4:45, Sam Guzman, the new sports director down at KTSM in El Paso, he will join us to talk a little bit about UTEP men's basketball and this game tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm amped up that college basketball is back next Monday. I caught a little bit of the Duke Arizona State game last night. That was an exhibition game, and it was quite a beatdown by Duke. A lot of people are high on Duke. Rick, I wanted to get your thoughts, and I'll start here. UNM, for the first time offensively, looked like they were inept, and they only mustered 2 field goals. Defense only gave up 17 points, but what were your overall thoughts of kind of a really boring game on Saturday in Fort Collins?
Right. Tough watch. First time Lobos didn't score a touchdown all season. Had multiple opportunities, giving them the fumble in the red zone, and then later having to settle for field goals. And then the second half, not really able to get anything going. So just a different type of game. When you lose Wysong early, you're missing 2 of your running backs, and that put a lot of pressure on Dampier. I think he ran the ball 14 times, which he usually stays under 10 or 9 carries. So that was a lot. They were asking Dampier to do more than they are already asking him to do. You saw him really scrambling around, searching for guys. You got to give hats off to Ryan Davis and other guys that stepped up. Ryan Davis, 146 yards for the redshirt senior. Big day for him. But when you don't have those other pieces out there, it really hurts Dampier's game and the way this offense has been molded around those players. And I think you saw it. One thing for me, though, is just the lack of diversity on third down. It would be third and mid or third and long, and they continued to call the quarterback keeper, which I think is a good play, obviously, when you have someone as dynamic as Dampier. But when it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 6 and you're in the red zone, I think you have to call something else after it's failed a few times. You can't put all the pressure on Dampier to have to make something happen with his feet. They were asking him to be Superman one too many times, in my opinion. And the defense, played their hearts out. I don't believe Colorado State was even in the red zone all day. Gave up 10 points, that one punt return. So definitely deserved to be in that game and had their chances, but way too many mistakes on third down with penalties and just bad decision making on the play calls in my eyes.
I didn't realize they were whistled 10 times for 65 yards, and they were all on offense. The big play of the game, though, was the forward pass there left in the second quarter. They were down 7-3. He took the snap, he ran, and it looked like a backwards pass to me. A couple of the other angles didn't. He threw it to Eli Sanders for a gain of 10, turned into a 1st and 10. They looked at it, and they opted that it was an illegal forward pass, which on 1st down now led to third, or it was 2nd down, so it was a loss of down. So it was 3rd and 10. From hindsight, I didn't think it looked that bad. I thought it was fine. There were different angles during the game, and that was one of the actual plays I paid attention to, being that I was at a bar with our group of friends, which can be distracting, and trying to watch it on the Mountain West Network and watch it on the Mountain West app. I'm not knocking them. But from the first glance, I thought that it looked like a backwards pass. Rick, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're watching it at full speed, it looks like it's right down the line. When you slow it down, you could kind of see how it probably did move forward a little bit. And that was just huge because it went from being a big gain to another 3rd and long, a 3rd and 10 after that gets called back. So you got to give Colorado State's defense credit, though. In the first half, they were giving almost 10 yards of play to the Lobos. In the second half, they shortened that to almost 4 yards of play. And I think that was due a lot to the injuries that the Lobos were going through. But, that play did have a big impact early, I felt.
I definitely thought that it killed some momentum. I mean, it was early on, down 7-3. I wasn't really impressed with Colorado State's offense. I know they're missing Torrey Horton. If you're speaking about, the opposite side of the ball, or opposite team, I don't know. It was kind of a painful game to watch. Whereas I think we've been treated the entire year with exciting games. If you've paid close attention to this team and just happened to miss the Colorado State game and you look at the score, it's kind of mind-boggling. But Rick, you had mentioned they outgained Colorado State 453 yards to 334 yards, racked up 24 first downs and 10 more for the Rams. I'm trying to think, not just UNM, but when's the last time you saw somebody do that and lost a game?
Yeah, usually when you outgain your opponent by that much, it means you're doing something right. But, it just comes down to the execution and those short yardage situations. And they were god awful. One, because they didn't, ever really call a play that I thought was a good call. And then 2, they penalized themselves time and time again to make it even harder. And those were a lot of backbreaking plays. So, their defense really kept them in the game, only giving up 334 yards when they've been giving up 468 on the season. So a huge improvement there. But it just wasn't enough. And that punt return, we talked about special teams before the game. That was one hell of a return. It was a special juke and speed, but at the same time, you can't afford that in a game that's really going to be decided that closely.
We'll talk to Ned James here in about 10 minutes, and he's a big proponent of offense puts butts in the seats, defense wins game, and special teams wins championships. I mean, this isn't end all be all. UNM is 3-5. There's a very winnable game on Saturday when they host Wyoming, who is clearly missing Craig Ball. They're 1-7. That game's at 2 p.m. Mountain. Rick, I'm glad you saw this. I did not know this. UNM is opened up as an 8-point favorite, and I'm not actually shocked by that. I wonder what the over-under is. I'll have to delve into that while you're looking. I think the biggest thing that we take away, and it maybe have kind of killed the dynamic of the UNM offense and UNM as a team, even special teams, is Luke Wysong. And obviously we have Ben, his uncle, on the show, Ben Wysong, who played linebacker and Lobo back in the early to mid 2000s. He's spoken to Luke. We can't reveal anything, but I think it's probably more positive than not. But he had he got injured on the first drive. He was running down the sideline on 2nd and 15. He hit late, which I think they did call a penalty, by defensive back Henry Blackburn, who's one of their best defensive players on Colorado State. He came up limping, and he headed towards the tent. He missed the rest of the game, and Mendenhall head coach Bronco Mendenhall was mum after the game, as he has been all year. He didn't say much today at the press conference. He had no new update, and I think it was day by day. I mean, that's been Bronco Mendenhall's MO. Again, as I've always joked, he's got plans to the Death Star. It really, to me, changed the dynamic, I think, because of what Luke has done this year. Again, I'm not an X's and O's guy, Rick, but Ryan Davis and Michael Buckley, well, that's an even better story. I think it kind of definitely altered what UNM wanted to do. I think Colorado State saw it. This isn't anything new, but I mean, Nakari Rogers, and I'm missing him, and I think Javen Jacobs. I mean, it's always that mentality of next man up, but I think they missed Luke a whole heck of a lot, and just not offensively, but special teams wise. I wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we all know he's the go-to guy for Dampier, and arguably the most important player outside Dampier on the team. And when you don't have him out there to really stress the defense and maybe draw double teams, there were some other gentlemen that stepped up, but when the defense is doesn't have to key on that one guy, they can kind of spread out against the rest. They were having guys ready for Dampier on the run most of the time. And just the leadership factor of Wysong not being out there, I think it kind of caught them off guard, to loosen that early in the game and not have him available when you're already missing two of your other weapons at running back. So I think just a huge loss as a leader. And as you mentioned, we don't really know the injury status because I think Rogers was actually listed on the depth chart for last week. So regardless of what the depth chart says or injury status, we won't know until up to the game. And I guess that's to the Lobos' advantage. But I think the team will be more mentally prepared this week if they have to, take on Wyoming without their leader.
I give Devin Dampier a lot of credit. He's probably the most, and this isn't a disrespect to any of the 2007 team, Lamar Jordan. He's probably might be the most prolific Lobo football player. And I don't know, it's a big topic, maybe since Brian Urlacher, right? I know he hasn't done enough, but I think just how we talk about him and how we've talked about him since the end of last year, even though I lose money gambling on stuff, and I'm, as I always say, I didn't play the game. I love it, and I love the history. I'm just big on, okay, he didn't throw any touchdowns. Okay, he didn't have any turnovers, but he did. I'd rather have a goose egg in the turnover department. He had 2 fourth quarter interceptions. He threw in earlier at 4 total. 23 or 40. I think maybe they were asking him to do too much, and maybe Luke, they were missing him in regards to Luke. I mean, the 4 turnovers kill you. I don't care who you are, or where you are, or as I try to sing a Backstreet Boys song, but I don't know. With this team, I think mistakes have to be so minute that when you have 4 turnovers, they are just not at the point where they can overcome those turnovers. And I don't know if you'd agree with that, Rick.
Yeah, and especially the red zone fumble right at the start of the second half where Dampier fumbles there. That one was really kind of a momentum killer when you think they're going to go down and score there. The 2 late interceptions, those were just, trying to make a play, and were not good throws. And one thing I just find interesting is how many times can we count this year where Dampier just does like a regular drop back, reads the field, and then gets to pick out a receiver. All of it is always, and I know it's to his ability and skill set to have him on the run. It puts stress on the defense, but I think he's a good enough passer to just step back and throw sometimes and make it. I know he's shorter, but sometimes it just seems like he's always having to be on the move, and a lot of the balls are impacted by him having to be traveling at high speeds while throwing. So I don't know if you had any different thoughts on that, but that's what I got.
I think he's done a lot. The insanity of it is I look at the box scores. Colorado State's 3-0. Boise State beat UNLV on Friday night, which we talked about on our Morning Hal show on Saturday mornings, the UNM football pregame show, which is a very interesting dynamic. I think there was only 1 sack again, and I'm trying to figure out if he was sacked or if it was Sol J. Maeva Peters. But if it was an actual like where he dropped back and passed and sacked. I don't remember. I don't know. I feel like he obviously has not been sacked nearly at all this year. But I don't know. I don't know if they're asking him to do too much.
I think the limited options put him in a tight place with what they were asking him to do. But again, I think the O-line held up pretty good. Eli Sanders still ran the ball fairly effectively, 70 yards on 15 carries, but just missing those other changes of rhythm at the running back position, I think kind of limited what they were doing. And again, I just wanted to mention our guy, Michael Buckley here with 7 catches, 90 yards. I don't think he had ever caught a ball before coming into that game of my knowledge. So big game for him, and great to see some other guys getting experience.
No, he's got quite an interesting story. He didn't see any action last year, missed the entire season as a redshirt freshman in 2022. He's from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I know Jeff and JJ were talking about it this morning on the opening drive. It's quite a phenomenal story. But I think for him to come in, that's really a big, I think, next man up moment. I know as cliche as it sounds, I thought that was pretty cool for UNM. We're going to take a quick break, though. We'll come back, and I know everybody's favorite, and I know, Rick, you love him, Mr. Ned James. I'm going to throw this out there. I won't be taking any calls now. You can text and call the show at 505-456-0547, and there's no hidden meaning in it. But I just thought it was kind of funny that's how it was done. But couldn't come up with any clever numbers. But anyway, hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with former UNM quarterback and Lobo Radio Network analyst, Mr. Ned James. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is Rick Thompson. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the show. Sorry, it's just me and my ugly mug. Rick had to jump off. He'll be rejoining. Always, as we made this a theme the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, he is a former UNM quarterback, and he is now a Lobo Radio Network analyst. You can catch him on pregame, halftime, postgame show with the one, the only JJ Buck. His name is Mr. Ned James. Ned, how you doing today?
Hey, doing great, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're hanging out, and it's just me today. So no Ed, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
He's taking care of his granddaughter. I wanted your
for him.
Yeah, I know. I know. My mom's the same way. My child's spoiled, and I know Ed loves it. I don't even know his granddaughter's name. That's terrible on my part. I think I'm going to ask you this first. Before we get to the UNM game, I wanted your thoughts on how to defend a Hail Mary and what did the Chicago Bears do wrong yesterday?
Well, apparently I heard the guy was supposed to be the guy who's supposed to be in front of the tip guy, but he, because of his, side antics, he decided he was going to run in and just knock it down and ended up tipping it back to this. So he got a double, triple whammy coming because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And also he didn't, they got the Hail Mary. And so the coaches, it's something that you practice and, guys know where their positions are supposed to be. And sometimes guys are just boneheads. They forget, and this is what happens.
Yeah, he was taunting the command. I almost call them Redskins, the Commanders fans, and you can see that video online. I don't know if from an entertainment value, I thought it was fantastic. So I just wanted somebody who's coached in the NFL's thoughts on that. Moving.
Oh, I've lost. Who was the old quarterback from Kentucky that played with the Cleveland Browns? God, I can't think of his name.
Tim Couch?
I was coaching with Tim Couch. Tim Couch beat us when I was in New Orleans on a Hail Mary like that.
I'm going to have to Google that. I don't remember that or search that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers hitting a Hail Mary. At least it was somebody different. And for somebody who's a New York Football Giants fan, I'm actually enjoying watching this Washington football team, Washington Commanders team. So I'm enjoying it. Switching gears to UNM, it was kind of a weird game. Just your overall thoughts on UNM losing to CSU 17-6 on Saturday in Fort Collins.
Well, that was a tough loss. I'm sure, Bronco was really feeling it at the presser today because there were a lot of, extenuating circumstances. There was a whistle incident. I don't know if you really saw it if you watched the game or not, but there was a time when it was a third down play, which was crucial, and Devin Dampier stops because there's a whistle. Well, the whistle came from the stands, and apparently, a couple of officials heard the whistle in the stands and turned, but the white hat didn't hear it, and so it's his call on whether the play is stopped or not. And it wasn't stopped, so they had to continue to play. He had to take a sack or whatever he took on that play, and then they were forced to punt. And then of course the lateral, which they went to review for, and there's no way you could overturn that. It was not a forward lateral pass by Devin Dampier, but they overturned it on review, and it just looked like Bronco's head was going to burst at the press conference today because he just was so beside himself about those two calls. And in the whistle thing, they went up in the stands at halftime, and they were able to confiscate the whistles from the kids who had the whistles at the game. So it was just one of those things where it was one of those games where the defense finally stepped up and played. Everybody was kind of criticizing the defense, and they finally played well. Unfortunately, you didn't get much offense other than yards. You got Devin Dampier played well, but you can't turn the ball over. I mean, he turned the ball over 4 times. I mean, I know one was right before the half or what have you, but you just can't turn the ball over like that. And it's unfortunate because the guy really played pretty good outside of turning the ball over because they marched the ball down the field and they were pretty balanced run pass offense. The only thing I don't like as much is I don't think they should run him as much, even though he's not getting too banged up. You just fear for these guys that get hit a lot, these quarterbacks, if they're going to get hurt now. Luke Weissong going out, it was fascinating because Trujillo and Buckley were 2 kids that, when I got to watch practices last year, I would go down and watch the defense and I would watch them on scout team, and they both did a really good job. They were really just great. And there were a couple kids that were down there that really did good. And, I would try to encourage them because, I didn't watch offense as much as I like watching defense. And so I would see them when they were going into either, the training room or going, leaving practice or whatever. And I'd say, hey, man, you guys just keep up the good work. You guys are good young players. And now they're starting. Now they're playing a lot. Buckley came in for Weissong being out and did a pretty decent job. I mean, they moved the ball up and down the field. and like I always tell you guys, offense is how you sell tickets. Defense is how you win games, and special teams is how you win championships. You can't give up punt returns for touchdowns. You just can't do it. I mean, and they got guys down there. They're just right there where the ball is, and they can't get the guy down. You can't miss field goals. Duswicki missed a field goal that would have put him in the game down the stretch. There's just little things like that hit. And it's called hidden yardage. The hidden yardage plays within the game. You can't get those the penalties that they had offensively, even though it didn't really affect them too much. It affected them enough, and those hidden yardage that adds up over time, and that causes you to not win games. I mean, because this is a game they easily could have won. It could have went either way, but just the fact that they're not able to overcome. I think the penalties what really killed them in the special teams play. Because they were playing pretty decent defense. And what a lot of people don't understand is that Dampier is playing pretty well, but he can't turn the ball over. You just can't have 4 turnovers. Those fumbles were really, the pitch on the fumble, down at the 2-yard line. I mean, you can't, those things that just really hamstring you. And it just, Bronco was just beside himself because he couldn't really, it was just something that he just had a hard time bringing back because I think he sees the teams that they're playing that's in front of him. He's looking at a bowl opportunity, but now they're fighting uphill.
I know it. And I don't mean to backtrack. I thought it was I was at a bar with my buddies, and I don't drink anymore, but they do. So they're quite distracting, and they're UNM alumni, and they love Lobo athletics. But
Sure.
I was quite distracted with them. And then I was also watching other games. But I know what you're talking about, and I thought that was very odd with the whistle because it was kind of like everybody else was still playing, and Dampier kind of stopped and looked what was trying to go on around him. But speaking of another kind of play, they had that odd the Dampier took the snap early in the second quarter. And he pitched it, he sprinted outside and he pitched it to Eli Sanders for a gain of 10. Would have been another first down. However, the officials opted to review the play and ruled it an illegal forward pass. They lost the down, so therefore it was 3rd and 10. What did you see on that play, Ned?
Well, it wasn't a lateral. I don't know what made him overturn the lateral. I just didn't. I didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, they're going to review it and they're just going to, spot, because it kind of threw them off. It looked like a little bit because they were kind of shocked that, because once you looked at it, even if you looked at it in the stadium, you would see that it was a lateral. He was behind him. If not, he was even with him. But I thought he was behind him, and they ruled it an illegal forward pass, and so they lost it down. And that was the play that I thought, okay, now these officials are bad. This is a bad crew, but you hate to put it on the officials. But if you listen to Broncos' press conference today, boy, I thought his head was about to explode because it kept. I guess the reporters must think the coaches don't look at the film, and it's like, well, what did you think when my head was about ready to burst because I've seen it so many times, and I couldn't believe it. And I think another journalist asked the same or a similar type question. And kind of got Bronco, in his feelings a little bit, but it was just interesting to see that this play was, kind of a source of, what guys were talking about at the press conference, and but it was a missed call, but those things happen in the course of the game. Penalties usually even out anyway, but we've got to get, that wasn't a penalty, but yeah, it was a penalty, but we've got to get our head around these penalties. I mean, because that. The hidden yards, and I think that's what really got Bronco really, kind of perturbed. When I think he knew he was going to have to talk about it because they had cut down on him the week before, and now they're right back up there again with the amount of penalties that they have.
UNM was flagged 10 times for 65 yards. They were all on offense, and 5 of the penalties came on 3rd and under 10 yards, which I'm sure it's hard to do. You already mentioned Michael Buckley, which seems to be the story of UNM football the last 48 hours. Ryan Davis steps in, 9 receptions, 146 yards, almost average over 16 yards a catch. Michael Buckley, 7 catches, 90 yards, over 12, just south of 12 yards per catch. I know it's cliche, and I mentioned it as we opened up the show, but it's next man up. How can you talk about, I know they didn't win, but they stepped up in a big way to help out without Caleb Medford and obviously Luke Weisong. Can you talk about their play?
Yeah, Ryan Davis. I've always liked Ryan. I like him. I think his brother's in the major leagues or something. Baseball player. He's out of Georgia. He talks about his glory days in the Little League World Series, or I think he played for one of those Baron Robbins or something like that in South Georgia. Robbins Barrow, or I can't think of the name of that thing. Not Little League team down in South Georgia that he is so proud of that he played for. I really like the guy. I've talked to him quite a bit, because he would always bug me about going over to talk to Coach Brown to get him on the baseball team last year. And just a good guy, just a solid. He was really Dylan Hopkins' main slot guy, but we had 3 other guys that played a little bit more last year than he did, because he kind of had some injuries last year. But I always thought he was a pretty good little player, and then watched him a little bit this year, and he's really kind of come along. So he wasn't really smart. But Buckley and Trujillo are 2 guys. Now, they're not really number 1 or number 2 guys, but they're really solid backup guys. And so, they got to step their game up. Ryan Davis really stepped his game up, but Trujillo's got to start making plays that Medford could make. Medford could make those big post route catches down the field. Trujillo's struggling a little bit with those. I mean, he made one big catch, but he's struggling to kind of make a big play when you need it. And so that's what Devin Dampier needs, because I think Devin's really talented, really good player. I think he was really pressing to try to do more because Luke went out so quick in the game. And the guy who hit Luke was the same guy that took out Travis Hunter for Colorado last year. So it was kind of a cheap shot to me on the sideline. But, a lot of people thought, it was kind of, he just kind of nudged him. I said, but it's just those little things like that, just giving him that little extra that, caused the guy to get hurt. So that was interesting. But it is next man up. I mean, they got to find a way to get some of these guys. And Bronco, one thing I give him credit for, because I remember Buckley and Trujillo on the scout team really worked hard, really hard-working kids. Now, there may be more talented guys than them, and I think Medford, he's going to have to, kind of get over some things. I think he kind of thought he was going to come in and get, kind of superstar treatment. He's not getting that, and he's got to get over some of this injury stuff that he's gone through for 2 weeks and get out there and start playing. But those 2 kids really work hard. I'm really happy for them to see them out there. I don't know if they can give you the big play. They really like Trujillo, but I haven't seen. I mean, he's made a catch or 2, but I don't know if he can really make plays. Ryan Davis is making plays. I kind of knew he would make plays. I didn't know Wysong would be as big as he was, but little guys always worry me because they get hurt a lot. And so that's, that was always my moniker. And people look at me, they talk about Christian McCaffrey now. Christian McCaffrey's down. But that's kind of been my kind of motto ever since. And I kind of got to get over myself a little bit with that. But the smaller guys get hurt a little bit. And Luke, it was unfortunate. It's an ankle deal. So we'll see how it goes. And those track guys, everything's got to be perfect for them to come back because they're so in touch with their bodies. And so we'll see if he's able to make it to this Wyoming game, which is a winnable game this weekend. I think with Buckley and Trujillo and Ryan Davis, they'll be okay. I mean, I still think they need a guy. They need a Medford or Luke Wysong to be in there because they got to have a big play guy, big play strike guy to help them out on offense.
Have you ever seen a game? I mean, I'm trying to think of all the football I've watched and you've coached and you watch. You understand the tape light years ahead of than I ever could have. But have you ever seen a team outgain UNM? Have you ever seen a team outgain a team like UNM did with Colorado State, where they still had 4 turnovers and couldn't score a touchdown? Have you ever seen that?
The fact that they couldn't score a touchdown was rare with that many yards. Now that's rare. I can't recall. I've been in games where you had a lot of yards and I just can't remember if it was a touchdown or didn't score a touchdown. But this was a game that was it was for the taking because they were able to move the ball and we were stopping that. I was surprised our defense really did a good job against their run game and their pass game. And the fact that we were able to, keep them under wraps, other than the one big post play. They went to the same play twice The first time they didn't get it, then they ran the same thing again, and it was a busted coverage, and they were able to get the post for the touchdown. And that was it. They only scored that one and a field goal other than the punt return for a touchdown. So the fact that, we just couldn't get the ball in the end zone, that's a part of it. And a lot of it has to do with special teams. I mean, Luke Drzwicki, he's got to make that field goal. I mean, you can't, I understand he made 2 of them, but he's got to make 3 of them. You can't. I'm just a little disappointed in the fact that the field goal didn't get made, because then it would have made it a different game. And despite kicking 3 field goals or what have you, but it would have gave us an opportunity to kind of go for it and put ourselves back, because we kind of had a little momentum at that time because we were moving the ball up and down the field. But the fact that we couldn't get the final nail in there just to get them on the ropes a little bit, that really hurt us, I thought.
When you have, top of your 2 running backs go down, I know I mentioned the next man up with the wide receivers, but when you have no Nakari Rogers, no Javen Jacobs, how does that alter your game plan?
Well, I mean, that's why you have a stable of running backs. I mean, that's a tough position. Eli Sanders was pouting about the fact that he had gotten moved from first string to third string because those guys were playing better. And now, those 2 guys are down, and his numbers up. So he's got to pick up his production. And, they've got Peters in there. He's really kind of a running back as well. And, they're gonna have to go to some other guys if they can't get those other guys back. And, something happens to Sanders or Peters. They've got to get these other, walk-on running backs out there. They've got some guys out there, walk-ons that are working hard. But Eli Sanders and Rogers and Jacobs, they're gonna have to have some miracle, because they're trying to get to 6. And they've got 4 games left with 3 wins, so they're gonna have to try to find a way to win 3 of these next 4. And it's going to be tough sledding because they get 2 at home, but 2 on the road are going to be tough. So we'll see what happens. This is why you get paid the big bucks to coach, man. You gotta adjust. You gotta find players. You got enough over there. You got to find one that could come in and everybody's a little beat up this time of year anyway, and they Colorado State didn't have their number 1 receiver. He's out for the year with the ACL. So. It all evens out, and we just have to persevere.
Wyoming comes in. They had to replace Craig Ball, who was a fantastic football coach. They are 1-7. Utah State got him. Jay Sawvell's off to kind of a funky start. What do you know about this Wyoming team?
Tough. The thing with Wyoming, they've got big, strong guys, and they've always been like one of the tougher teams in the Mountain West Conference. Fast forward to now. What is it? Swalwell is his name, I think, the head coach.
Yeah, Jay Sawvell. Yeah,
Sawvell. Yeah, he ain't Craig Bowl. Craig Bowl. I remember having a discussion with Rocky Long, and I was kind of evaluating all the coaches in the Mountain West, and Rocky was like, "Shoot, the number 1 toughest guy I ever played is Craig Ball at Wyoming." I said, out of all these teams, the Air Force, the San Diego States, he's like, no. He says, you always hated to play Wyoming because you're going to get a physical game. And I just don't see that physicality. I see the same guys, but I don't see the physicality that they had with Craig Bowl there. So it'll be interesting to see both offense, because Craig Bowl affected both the offense and the defense. I see the same type of players. I just don't see the same toughness that I saw from that team when he was the head coach. So it'll be a matchup that I think a lot of people at UNM believe that this is one we can get. They're going to be a little excited. They may come out, watch the game, and we may have a little bit of a crowd because I think they do have some optimism with Bronco and what he's doing with this young team, and he's playing New Mexico kids, and they're getting some of the shine. So I think they enjoy that. But Wyoming, they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to be physical with you in the run game. But I think our defense got a little confidence. The one guy you got to keep your eye on is Dampier, because losing Luke Weissong and Caleb Medford, he may not be as confident in putting the ball to those guys that he was with the speed of Medford and Weissong. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for this game. And I hate to see him have to do more because he does a lot already. But I don't want to see him have to run as much because he is a smaller guy, and I'm always worried about the risk of injury when you have a guy who has the ball in his hands so much and he's doing so much out there. I just want some of these guys to kind of step up and help him.
He is a former quarterback at the University of New Mexico. You can catch him on Lobo Radio Network halftime and post-game show with JJ Buck, with Rob Portnoy and Dontrell Moore on the call. His name is Mr. Ned James. Ned, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us again on Monday. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me.
That was Ned James, former UNM quarterback. Love talking to him. Always love his insight. I always got to thank Ed for getting him on the show. Really appreciate it. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. Then we'll be back with Sam Guzman. He's down in El Paso, KTSM. He's the sports director there. Get a little bit insight on UTEP. I know this is an exhibition game tonight, but I'm sure you still want to win. Lost my train of thought there because, I'm fantastic at hosting the show. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm very happy to have just met this gentleman, and I appreciate the one, the only Chet Stedman, Jared Chester, for helping me out with his number, and Nick Coppola. He's down in El Paso at KTSM, sports director there, and he replaced a fabulous guy in Colin Deaver. But I'm happy to meet you. His name is Mr. Sam Guzman. How you doing today, man?
Ryan, I'm doing well, man. I am honored to be on the pit press. Did I think I'd ever make it here? No, but I'm glad that day has finally come, man. So yeah, Colin, I hope I can live up to what Colin's delivered for you guys in years past.
Well, it was only once that it was on a recorded show, so at least you're live now. So I guess more bang for your buck. I don't know what that means.
Right.
No, I appreciate your time, man, and on such short notice for joining the show today. UTEP opens up at UNM tonight. Well, it doesn't open up. It's an exhibition game. It's for charity. It's $10 to get in. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of real game situation in it. This UTEP team under Joe Golding, they made it to the Conference USA final last year. They lost to Big Red. I love the Hilltopper mascot in Western Kentucky. Yeah. Western Kentucky got to the NCAA tournament. They have 10 returnees from last year. UTEP does have that lineage. You said we talked off the show earlier today. You said there's a lot of excitement. Expectations are high. What can UTEP do, and what can Joe Golding do in his fourth? And I still think about them beating Texas in the first round 3 years ago. But what is the feeling around El Paso for this UTEP men's basketball team?
Yeah, I think you hit on the head right there, Ryan. I think there is a lot of excitement when it comes to UTEP men's basketball this year. And I think everyone wants to see, just like you mentioned there, Joe Golding lead his squad to the NCAA tournament, but not only that, but possibly get a win, because it's been so long, over a decade, since UTEP men's basketball has appeared in the Big Dance. 2010 was the last time the Miners made the NCAA tournament. And like you said, Ryan, last year, I don't know how many people saw UTEP being a win away from making an appearance in the Big Dance, but they peaked at the right time, and they were really, really close to punching their ticket to March Madness. So I don't remember the last time there's been this much excitement surrounding the program. And Joe Golding's he's really kind of captured the Miner faithfuls belief in him, and especially after putting together the postseason run they did last year. A lot of people want to see UTEP make some noise in Conference USA this year, and having 10 returnees and adding some good transfers gives them a good shot to do so. Again, the only thing I'm really we need to remind people is that this team just finished the regular season hovering around 500. So it's not like they were dominating opponents. Even in the Conference USA tournament, it's not like they were blowing out opponents. But they showed what this team could be. They were down double digits against really good teams like Sam Houston and La Tech and Liberty, and they battled back and played their way to the CUSA final and gave themselves a chance. So that's the only thing I'm a little bit, I would say, concerned about, is that, hey, remember, this team just finished around 500. So expectations should be tempered a little bit, but there's a lot of optimism here. And it's year 4 for Joe Golding, 10 returnees. All of them kind of played key roles last year. So I think the ceiling's kind of high for this year's Miners team, Ryan.
I love the history of sports in this country. So when you said 2010, I had to Google it, and they lost to that Butler team in the first round. I did not know that. I remember when I'm starting to show my age. I remember in a senior in high school that they played Utah. I am full of useless shit. The senior class is stacked. Otis Frazier, and I saw on, I think it's GoMiners.com, he is the only player on the preseason All-Conference USA team. Corey Camper, June 4th leading scorer last year. Big Derek Hamilton and Kevin Kalau. They both are big men that broke out during the Conference USA tournament, but they lost 2 of their top scorers from last year. Tay Hardy and Zid Powell both graduated. How do they fill those voids there this year?
Yeah, like you said, Ryan, top 2 scorers from last year's team gone due to graduation, and these were guys. Zid and Tay Hardy were the 2 guys that UTEP went to in those moments where they needed a bucket. Obviously, with them gone, that's opened up the opportunity for some of these returnees to take that role. And I think you said it right there. Otis Frazier III, Corey Camper Jr., obviously 2 seniors on this year's team, and they were the next leading scorers. If I remember correctly, I think Otis Frazier was the 3rd leading scorer. Yeah, and Corey Camper was the 4th leading scorer on that team. They also came up big in moments, and so I could see them too filling in those scoring roles. And then UTEP's got a really good sophomore class, and I really want to point out David Terrell Jr. won the Conference USA Freshman of the Year award last year, and really showed flashes of how good this kid can be. And Joe Golding's really high on him. So I could see David Terrell Jr. kind of filling in the role as a scorer. I would like to see him, take a little bit more perimeter shots, like 15-footers and maybe some 3-pointers. Really didn't get to see a lot of that last year. Was more of a guy that just would power his way to the rim, and an excellent finisher inside. So I'm really interested to see if David Terrell Jr. can develop more of a jump shot to his game and see that on the floor this year. But I would say David Terrell Jr., Corey Camper Jr., and Otis Frazier III being some guys that can score the ball for UTEP this year. And the 2 bigs you mentioned, Kevin Kalu and Derek Hamilton, they really kind of broke out during the Conference USA tournament. Really got to see what their true potential, and hopefully they can take a step up this year and play like the bigs Joe Golding wants them to.
Otis Frazier III is a 46'6", 210 transfer from George Mason. Played in 32 of 34 games last year. Can you tell Lobo fans about his game?
Yeah, I mean, he is awesome. I think a really good 2-way player, but really, really, really good on the defensive side of the ball. I think he led UTEP in steals last year and was one of the nation's leader in steals per game as well. So defensively, really reliable. Offensively, can score the ball. Again, I'd like to see him take another step when it comes to scoring the ball. But this is a guy who's going to be a major impact player for UTEP, and I think the Lobo fans should be excited to see what he does tonight, and they'll get a little taste of what Otis Frazier III has to offer on the hardwood tonight.
They were voted tied for 5th in the Conference USA men's basketball preseason poll, tied with Liberty. What's the feeling around that program in El Paso in regards to getting that voted? I know those don't mean anything, but what's the mood around the program? And I'm sure they don't really, Joe Going and crew doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. I don't know how many teams, really care about these preseason polls. It's I think it's something more for us, the media, fans, and then the outside world. But I think everyone's just locked in on trying to play the best basketball and put out the best product there. But I will say, in my view, UTEP coming in tied for 5th, 6th, whatever, was a little, I thought they'd be a little bit higher. But then again, I got to bring back the point of, this team barely finished around 500 last year in the regular season and just peaked at the right time. So I think that's why, the excitement's high, the energy's high, the expectations are high. So I'm just really interested to see if UTEP can deliver. I think that's the story. Can UTEP deliver? And I know Joe Golding, when we stop by practice, he really mentions like this is a year where everyone needs to take the next step, and that next step is playing really good basketball and being one of the more competitive teams in the league this year. So tied for 5th, they really don't care about it. So, but I think this Conference USA league is really stacked as well. I think everyone in this league got better. So like the Liberties, the Western Kentuckys, La Tech, I think was, if my memory serves me right, is the predicted to be the winner of the league this year. So it's a really stacked league, and UTEP obviously wants to be in the upper echelon of competition. So we'll see if that preseason poll adds fuel to their fire this year.
I'm a big history buff. This is why I sell. This is why I'm a salesman during the day, because my U.S. history degree and my journalism degree really are taking me far. But UTEP has UTEP. Yeah, I'm my comedy hour, and I'm also not a stand-up comedian. I'm terrible at it. But UTEP has the lineage, and I'm sure you get this maybe question all the time, or maybe you don't. But with Don Haskins Center, I feel like between maybe UNM and NMSU in the Rio Grande Valley here. I mean, if UTEP can win, what kind of vibe? And I don't know if you've been down in El Paso long enough, but do you feel like the Don Haskins Center can be like a very raucous arena and a very hard place to play? Because I think what I watched last year, there weren't a lot of people at UTEP home games.
No, I mean, attendance has always been, for any college team, if you're not winning, it's kind of tough to draw a crowd. But there were games last year, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, where UTEP pulled a really, decent sized crowd. And Ryan, it was loud in there, man. And I don't think they even sold this building out. I'm trying to remember the game, because I remember just it being loud. And once we got out of the arena, my ears were ringing. Like I felt like I just got out of a rock and roll concert or something. So it was that loud, and it wasn't even sold out. So, I mean, if UTEP, the Miner fans, they're passionate. If their team can deliver wins, they will show up. Switching lanes into football, I don't know how familiar you are with UTEP football, but UTEP football's got a brand new head coach, Scotty Walden. Built a lot of excitement. In the home opener, they brought in, I think, more than 41,000 fans. Home opener, first game of the Scotty Walden era. So UTEP's got a fan base that they'll get behind their teams, but with that, they want results. And unfortunately, UTEP football, fell to Southern Utah in that game. So, a little bit, underwhelming for the football team. But that goes to my point. Like, if UTEP men's basketball can deliver a great product on the hardwood floor this year, the Miner fans will back that, and they will show up to the Don Haskins Center, and that place will be loud, and it will be a tough place to play for the opposition if the Miner faithful packs the Don Haskins Center. So a really great venue. Obviously, like you said, Ryan, there's a history to it. They just put a Don Haskins statue outside the arena, I believe, last year. So a lot of history, and I would say UTEP is kind of a basketball school, but football's making their way. We'll give basketball run for its money, but obviously, like, the 1966 national championship team is something synonymous with UTEP. So there's definitely a history, and the Miners, the Miner fans love basketball. I'll say that, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, you're still you're in Texas, and I guess you're deemed West Texas. I guess it's Southwest Texas. But I wanted to. I'm an avid. I mean, I love all college athletics, so I'm very familiar with Scotty Walden. He looks like I don't know if you've heard of who Sundance Wicks is. He's the new basketball coach at Wyoming, and he's just got the personality of like an insane person. He's intense all the time. When I've watched UTEP, because I miss my Maction. I don't know when it starts. So there's what does CBS Sports call it? Weekday Conference USA. So I do watch it, and I have lost money. I'm better off taking $100 bill and flushing it in the toilet. But and I was in Vegas last week. But just your thoughts on the energy that Scotty Walden has.
I've never seen anything like it. I haven't been around college athletics maybe as long as you have. So to me, this is something I've never seen before. And he obviously, the energy is something that a lot of the fans like. I know the players love Walden's energy. So it kind of reminds me about Joe Golding actually a little bit, but I think Scotty beats him out in energy just by a little bit. But Joe Golding is a very energetic head coach as well. I don't know if Joe Golding will take his shirt off and paint his body with orange and blue. I don't know if you've seen that clip of Scotty Walden. Have you, Ryan?
I have, yeah.
So I don't know if Joe Golding will go to that extent, but man, Golding's energetic as well, and he brings it onto the hardwood floor. So I would say UTEP's got some pretty good energetic coaches in Scotty Walden and Joe Golding, and when it comes to those two sports.
No, definitely from somebody who's watched UTEP. I don't know how many people you meet that around the country, especially with my New Jersey and Albuquerque roots. You're like, hey, I'm paying attention to UTEP football. I don't know. I've always wanted to go to a Sun Bowl. I think the Sun Bowl has and I could be wrong, has probably the capability of being such a unique and brightful venue in college football. And I the Sun Bowl's always played on December 31st. And I mean, the teams that you're able to get there, I think it was probably teetering on like Peach Bowl level. I think it's probably one of the more prestigious bowl games. I know I sound like I'm talking out my ass, but I think it's up there. It's been around for a long time. Before I let you go, we're joined by Sam. That's just my, comments from the peanut gallery. But before I let Sam Guzman go of KTSM, he's a sports director down in El Paso, and I appreciate his time. I have to ask you about NMSU because you do cover them. And I'll start probably as we keep the trend going with football. I always have Nick Coppola of the Las Cruces Sun News on every week. We've had him on our Saturday morning show. What have you made of Tony Sanchez and trying to replace Jerry Kill this year in Las Cruces?
Yeah, I mean I think that's a tough spot for anyone to be in. Obviously, Tony Sanchez, he's been part of Jerry Kill's staff since they got here in 2021 for the 2022 season. So Tony Sanchez, obviously a player, played here at New Mexico State. He's been on the coaching staff since that 2022 season. He knows what it takes to win at New Mexico State. Obviously, I think stepping up from a wide receivers coach to a head coach is quite the jump. So obviously, already had his work cut out for him before the season even began, and then a lot of NMSU's key players like Diego Pavia, Eli Stowers. Several of them just transferring out. So Coach Sanchez had to kind of I don't want to say rebuild because there was already a good foundation for him to build this squad with. But when you lose a guy like Diego Pavia at quarterback, it's tough. And New Mexico State is still going through some quarterback struggles right now. And who would have thought you're in week 10 of the college football season and you're still trying to find a starting quarterback. So that's a tough spot for New Mexico State to be in. But, I just something that intrigues me is that week where Vanderbilt had beat Alabama and seeing Diego Pavia kind of spearhead the Commodores' effort to that. And I believe New Mexico State had lost to, I forgot who they lost that same week, but just like it was just weird to see like Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill just play key roles in Vanderbilt's win over Alabama. Meanwhile, New Mexico State had lost to, or was coming off that loss to New Mexico, or just got blown out by Jacksonville State. So it's a tough spot for New Mexico State to be in. But hey, they picked up a win against La Tech on October 15th. Back in action tomorrow. So we'll see if the Aggies can string together back-to-back wins for the first time this year.
And before I let you go, because the theme today was basketball, what do you know about Jason Hooten heading into his second year? And he did a very good job after the whole Greg Hire debacle. What can you say about Jason Hooten, and what do you know about NMSU men's basketball this year?
Yeah, Jason Hooten, once he arrived in Las Cruces, had his work cut out for him as well. Had to rebuild the program from scratch, basically. Everyone knew on last year's team, this year entering the second season of his tenure. And when I spoke to Coach Hooten, the message is kind of like, hey, we're still building our culture here. The big word in college athletics is they're still building their culture. They've got more of their kind of guys, like Coach Hooten likes to say. So a lot of new faces on this year's team as well. I think it's 4 returnees from last year's team. Chris Cook, Jaden Harris, and Christopher BQ, who really didn't get to finish, didn't play a lot last season due to an injury. But to have those 4 guys back as leaders is really beneficial for Hooten. But a lot of new faces. So I think kind of the message Hooten's relayed to his players is like, we're still building what we want this program to be. So, I do think they perform better than they did last year. But again, it's barely the second season of Hooten's time here in Las Cruces, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of product they put out on the floor this year.
you can, if you somehow find yourself watching KTSM down in El Paso, he is the sports director there, Sam Guzman. Hey, man, I really appreciate it. I'll probably bug you down the stretch, maybe to talk a little bit more UTEP and NMSU basketball. I can't thank you enough for spending 15, 20 minutes with me this afternoon.
All right, it was a pleasure. Again, honored to be on here, and we got to get you down to the Sun Bowl or the Don Haskins Center at least once.
I probably sound like a crazy asshole, but I would love to go to a Sun Bowl. So you might be, I mentioned it to my buddy yesterday, probably depending on who gets in that matchup. I mean, last year you had Oregon State, Notre Dame. You can't pass that up. So if I am going down there for the football game, I'll let you know. And I didn't ask you this, and I'm sorry, with UTEP entering the Mountain West Conference in 2 years, how ecstatic is things in El Paso there?
Oh yeah, see, well, there's your reason you're coming to the Sun Bowl in a couple of years. Exactly. So you'll be here you'll be down here soon enough. But no, Joe Golding was one of the first coaches in fact, the first coach we talked to from UTEP since UTEP announced their moving to the Mountain West in 2026, and he was ecstatic. And I think the big thing that really got him hyped up was the return of these old rivalries like UTEP and New Mexico, UTEP Wyoming, UTEP UNLV. Those are all classic rivalries that mean a lot to the program and mean a lot to the fan base here as well. So I know fans are super pumped up to be in the Mountain West in 2 years, and those UNM UTEP games are going to bring back a lot of memories for the fan base here in UTEP. So really excited for Miners are really excited to be back into the Mountain West.
I'm on mute there. Yeah, no, I think I would love I wish UTEP played them in football every year, and UNM and played them in basketball every year. I think would be fantastic. Again, Sam Guzman, KTSM Sports Director. Sam, thank you so much. I'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you a ton.
That was Sam Guzman, KTSM Sports Director. You got a little bit insight on men's basketball, UTEP men's basketball tonight. Of course, that's an exhibition game. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and Rick will join us when we get back. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. Hey, welcome back to the show. Let me fix that light there because my back was killing me. I couldn't stand anymore. Rick is back on with us. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. We have basketball in the pit tonight, and I wanted your thoughts on what you expect to see out of the men's team tonight.
Sure. So was just listening to the Albuquerque Sports Live show with Jeff and Sean, and one thing Jeff was talking about there is that earlier in practice, I don't know if it was this week or last week, that Donovan Dent actually took a hard fall and possibly might not play tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if he does not play, who starts at point guard. If it's going to be freshman Cade Dodson, or if they start Noland or someone like that. But one thing I guess I just wanted to talk about is who we're projecting as the starters. It came out that the captains are going to be CJ Nolan, Donovan Dent, and Mustafa Amzil, and just looking at the range of weapons they have, I think we can safely say Donovan and Nelly are going to start. Amzil will probably start at post, and then at the wings, I think we all expect True to start. And then I think the other one that's kind of up in the air is, will it be Philly B, the transfer from Arizona, or will it be CJ Noland, the transfer from North Texas, who got named captain? By the looks of it, and it sounds like Philly B will probably be starting, but Noland will probably get big minutes and spell, I would think, at both guard positions and wing positions. So just looking forward to what they show out there tonight. You know, they're going to play probably their full roster, so I wouldn't look too much into what they're running. It'll probably be fairly simple as far as the sets and things. But I think the players will all be excited to get out there, and it'll be a good experience for these new guys to get out there in front of the crowd, go through the motions of warm-ups and everything like that. Playing with officials and everybody out there should be fun. Is there one player, Tamari, that you're looking for tonight to have a big game?
I think, I mean, I'm going to not really answer what you've asked, but I'm looking to see, I think the new guys, all of them. I mean, Philly B, Jovan Milivojevic, Kate Dotson. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at all these guys. I think I'm more excited about CJ Nolan, the transfer from North Texas. That's what I'm really excited about. I think he's going to be a big contributor. You know, when we have Jacob Neff on, he was really high on him. Neff knows everything that you possibly can on any college basketball player. It's his MO. It's what he does. I think he's probably the player I'm most excited about. I know what Donovan Dent does. I know what Nelly does. You know, we rode the Mustafa Amzil roller coaster last year, where he was like, get him off the team, and then he was the sixth man of the year, which he was phenomenal. Yeah, maybe looking forward to seeing him earlier in the season as they, if he plays better earlier in the season as he posed last year.
Right, and let's not forget he started, I think, the first 1 or 2 games last year. So, you know, he has started before, and like you said, you know, he did round into shape. So yeah, I expect him to be better earlier in the season. And the same goes for Nelly. Like everyone's mentioned, he wasn't even really in the country till this time last year. And you know, that social media clip we put out last night, he clearly thinks the Pit is the place to play, and said nowhere on the East Coast can compare to it. So those are pretty high praise for someone that's played a lot of places, that being Nelly.
Eric was calling into the show because he couldn't join us, so I'll let him call me back because I accidentally disconnected our. I'm going to give everybody a secret. I disconnected the Bluetooth to our mixer on the phone that we use for the show.
What?
Go ahead, Rick.
I just wanted to mention some scrimmage notes from around the conference while we're waiting for Eric to join.
Go ahead.
We got BYU actually went over Boise with the score of 91-85 in a scrimmage, and Fresno State came on top of Loyola Marymount 92-85. So interesting results. We did see that Loyola Marymount team walking around at West Coast Media Days, and they had some large fellows. So interesting that Fresno was able to take them down. And just some other Mountain West basketball news. Star point guard DJ Thomas seems to have been injured his foot, ankle injury for UNLV. Their best player will be out a few weeks to start the season. So I think he's probably the best point guard in the conference other than Dent. We got, you know, to speak with him on media day, and I think he's going to be much improved this year.
The one thing that I did watch exhibition wise was Duke and Arizona State last night. My buddy, one of our friends, has 3 TVs. One's a 75-inch, and then he's got 2 50-inch TVs above them. So we're able to have like 6 NFL games on at once in the morning slate. And I put on Arizona State and Duke was up 55 at one point. Rick, did you catch any of that game? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Did you catch any of that game?
I just saw the score and I couldn't believe it. But as a team that's going to be playing Arizona State next month, that looks pretty good for the Lobos. And I did mention the other day that I thought they would be at the bottom of the Big 12, and so far it looks like I was right.
103-47, and they outscored Arizona State, Duke, that is 66-26 in the second half. I'm going to try to give Eric a call right here because I know that he probably wants to join in on the show. So here we go. Let's see if we can get him on the show. Oh, here he is calling.
Call from Eric Molden. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail,
Wow.
press 2.
Well, while we're waiting on that, I think one other.
There you can hear a kid screaming. Go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead, Eric.
Eric, you're on the show. I guess not. No, he's not on the show.
I think the main backup post player, and we can all see this is probably going to be a Tiki, the transfer from BYU. When we spoke to Donovan Den at Media Days, he just spoke about how a Tiki's vertical is crazy, and he's never played anyone with that type of height and leaping ability. He's going to make a big impact on the defensive side as well. And we asked Nelly, will there be a time where we'll ever see him playing with a Tiki on the court at the same time? And he said, yeah, there might be a time, where there's foul issues or him and a Tiki share the court. I think that would definitely be interesting to see. But I look for him to be one of the key bench players this season. And of course, the first big man off the bench. But excited to see what he can do.
All right, we're going to go to the phone because he called in. It's Eric Malton, my business partner and co-founder on this. Hey, UNM. Oh, you hung up on me again.
Call from Eric Molden.
Why are you calling Google Voice?
That's what you want me to call, right?
No, I just.
Oh,
you're on the air. You're on the show live now. I just thought I'd call you directly. Hey, UNM's basketball tonight. You got to be excited.
Yeah, really excited. Kind of bummed that I can't be there tonight, but you guys are talking about just some of the newcomers. CJ Nolan, obviously, I think the ones that are going to see the most significant minutes. I don't know. I was watching Jeff Grammer's live show earlier, and he mentioned that he's probably going to see starter minutes, even though he's not. He's like transfer senior, so really excited to see him. He's kind of built like Therese Gary, kind of reminds me of him when we saw him at that open practice. Probably one of the most value high shooters they got on the team this year. So I think he's going to come in and be expected to contribute right away. So looking forward to him. I think Jovan Milicevic is another big piece that not a lot of people know about. He's huge, literally huge, but he's so skilled, can play from the outside, stretches the floor. He's going to draw a lot of attention and force some schools into some bad matchups and just spread it out. I know I see him in some high pick and roll action with like a Donovan Dent because he does have the capability to kind of just move down low like that, but can hit the pick and pop. So I don't expect to see a whole lot with them running an offense. I think Rick mentioned that a little bit earlier tonight. I'm not sure how many minutes these guys are going to get. I don't doubt it if Pitino empties the bench to get a lot of guys on the floor, but I'm just excited that it's a new season. A lot of higher expectations this year. I mean, Lobo fans definitely want those postseason wins, and that's what we're looking forward to. So obviously excited to see them too with the schedule that they have this year, which I know you're going out to Vegas, you're going out to New York, Madison Square Garden. The Lobos are definitely on the map, and they're getting that national notoriety back, and it's exciting. And everyone loves when Lobo season's back on.
Well, we really didn't say, I think earlier in the football season, it was kind of like, well, when does basketball season start? But hey, they've won 3 in a row. Eric, I'm bummed you can't go tonight. I know you've got a sick kid. I'll be there. Ed will be there. I guess I'm excited to see the usual suspects of the media. And then I know some fans there and people that I've known. But hey, Nichols State, it's not Nichols State anymore. It's just Nichols. That game is next Monday. Yeah, that game is next. Jack Nichols' son. That game is next Monday night at 7.
I think
Go
I
ahead,
think
Rick.
one thing we got to look for is and Eric, you could comment on this if you agree. The offense is probably going to look a lot different this year. I think they're going to have to play a different style with only one true post probably in the game at a time, probably playing more 4 out with Amzil stretching it at the corners. And I think they'll still play and be one of the fastest teams as the statistics are projecting. But as Eric's mentioning, be much more physical, long with the 6'9" Philly B. The resident unicorn that we're going to have this year for the Lobos. I'm really excited to see what he can do. If you watch his film from international play, he's able to grab the ball, go coast to coast. So I look for him even to handle the ball possibly when Dent is out as a secondary ball handler. But I just think the way the offense runs this year is going to be slightly different than what we've seen the past 2 years.
Did you have any thoughts on that, Eric? Are you still with us?
No, I know. Just on a previous show we had Mackenzie Bishop with 505, really talking about Philly B and had a lot of high praise for him. Him coming in with a lot of high expectations. He even threw in the idea of Philly B possibly getting Mountain West Sixth Player of the Year, something that Dill took home last year. So him coming in at 6'9", being able to see the floor, handle the ball, kind of draw some distractions. And there's just a lot of key elements to this team's length and height that they didn't have last year. So I think we're going to see a different version of this Lobos team. Donovan Dent's team still, that's the end of the day, but there's just some athleticism and some length that we haven't been used to seeing in past years. And like we didn't even mention Atiki and his athletic ability. I mean, some of the pictures and videos that we've seen just on Twitter and social media, the guy can jump, and he's 6'10", 6'11", freak athlete. So we're going to see some high flying Lobo action then, and that's what I'm probably most excited about too. Is just the new faces. Obviously, it's a kind of a generic statement, but there's just so many new faces, and his name's slipping my mind, but the transfer from Georgia Tech, who they are raving about, just his overall strength and his athleticism. So it's really going to come down to who gets minutes, which roles are these guys going to play, where do they fit within the scheme. It's really hard to tell. I think a lot of it's going to play out over the next couple weeks. But I mean, there's a lot of new faces, and a lot of these guys bring a whole bunch of different skill sets and things that we're not used to seeing around here. So it's just day one of that journey now. So looking forward to chopping it up with you guys the rest of the season.
I really just think it's going to come down to which transfers hit also, right? For all the Mountain West teams, last year we had Mushila came in and he had been effective at a smaller conference, and he was a good rebounder and defender for us, but really didn't end up playing many minutes in conference play. So which transfers are going to make an impact, which are not? And for me, my question with this team is always, where is the three-point shooting going to come from? CJ Noland, 38% last year, 35% for his career, so he can definitely shoot. Donovan Dent, as we know, is usually reluctant to shoot the three, and while I think he'll take more and be better, I don't think we can count on him to fill the shooting void. True Washington shot selection last year was also questionable at times. So who else shoots the three besides Amzil and Nolan consistently? We don't really know the answer to that, and that'll play out over the next few weeks here.
I think in the first few weeks, you'll see a guy like Applehands get some minutes. He's definitely going to get an opportunity. And then is True Washington's game going to be able to translate and take that next step into a sophomore year, kind of the same step that Donovan Dent took last season, right? I think a lot's going to be expected of True Washington to make that leap this year. And he saw significant minutes last year in the Mountain West tournament, and he contributed, not only from an energy standpoint, but a guy that can defend, a guy that can slash and get to the basket, but one thing that I think we're looking to develop him in the off season was what was turning into a shooter, kind of a catch and shoot guy, maybe a guy that can shoot off the bounce, stuff like that. So these guys are still young, and I know that there's a lot of hype around the incoming transfers, but there's some guys that have been part of the program, like a Quentin Webb, that you might not look to initially, but maybe they develop the game, maybe they fit within that system. They have a little bit more tenure under their belt with Patino and the type of offense that he likes to run. So really it's going to come down to what Rick says. I agree with him there on it's who's going to come out, who's going to be the best fit, the best five, who's going to play the best together within that system, and trying to stay healthy is another key piece there too. So definitely a lot deeper bench this year than last year. So it's nice that they have the depth, they have the length, they have the size. And now it's just trying to bring it all together and see if these guys can pull off a back-to-back Mountain West championship.
Tournament championship. Eric, I know you got to jump off, but thank you for calling into the show. I could have just called you to your number, but hey, it's working. So there we go. We're happy about that.
All right. Enjoy the game, guys. Talk to you later.
All right. That is Eric Malton, my co-host and co-founder of the Pit Press. Again, you can call the show if you want to give your opinion. Probably be on for another, 15 minutes. I saw in the comments before I give some more thoughts. Gail Robles, anywhere we can see today's men's exhibition game? Unfortunately, no. They also have the plans to the Death Star, or they're invading Normandy, and UNM doesn't want you to see it, and UTEP. It is available on, you can listen on Lobo Radio Network, which is 96.3, 770 KOB. Rob Portnoy and Hunter Green on the call, I believe. It should be Portnoy, who I always want to call Rob Dave Portnoy, just out of sure fact, and I apologize to him. So no TV tonight, no interwebs, all on the radio. But again, it is a charity event. It is for the UNM. I got to go back because I don't want to butcher this. I got to think of Mrs. Lovejoy from The Simpsons. Won't somebody please think of the children? Proceeds from the game will benefit UNM's Children's Hospital. Tickets for the game begin at $10 and are on sale at golobos.com/tickets. I would imagine you would be able to just walk up and get a ticket. The last time these two teams met was 2021-22, a 77-69 UTEP win in the Pit. That was Joe Golding and Richard Patino's first year. UNM's last one in the series came in 2018-2019, 84-78 in the Pit. Again, the Lobos open their regular season. This is an exhibition game next Monday night when they host Nichols, the artist formerly known as Nichols State, at 7 p.m. 17. Games at 7. You can hear on the Lobo Radio Network. That will be broadcasted on the Mountain West Network, which if you just log in and go to mountainwest.com. Again, the game is on you can just listen tonight. I'm shocked it's kind of not on the Mountain West Network with some of the exhibition. Rick?
I think it's up to each school.
Probably.
The home school they have to make the decision if they want to stream it out or not. So I think Utah State was on the mountain a few weeks ago, but they're ultimately decided not to. And I think, we, like Eric was saying, they won the conference tournament last year, but let's not forget they finished 6th in the regular season, right? And this non-conference schedule this year is a lot harder. Coach Patino told us himself that it's going to look a lot different this year. He has the demeanor and the fortitude to endure what comes with it, but his question is, do the fans? I don't know if they do, because we just hit on all these pieces that have to mesh together, right? And new roles for some of these guys. I think this scrimmage or this exhibition is a lot more important than it might have been in the past, because they still have so many things to figure out. I don't know if I'm coach, if I play all 12 or 15 players tonight. I'm more worried about maybe playing the top 10 and seeing how they work together, because you do get that game against Nichols, but then you're thrown right into it, I believe, against UCLA. And you're not going to have much time for those relationships on the court to kind of form in live time. So it's going to be a lot different looking this year. Let's not forget that the Lobos were not a juggernaut last year in conference. someone today had them as 4th this year in their preseason conference poll. So I don't think being in the top 3 can be seen as a given. There's a lot that they have to prove early on. And as we've said time and time again, there's no nights off in the Mountain West Conference. There's 7 good teams in my eyes. And I think this game will hold more importance than a lot of people think tonight.
Steve Kirkland, who does a fantastic job over at UNM, he's the sports information director and the men's media contact. He did send out game notes. The possible starters tonight against UTEP: Donovan Dent, True Washington, Philip Borvichinen, Mustafa Amzil, and Nelly Jr. Joseph. So there you go, Rick. There's your possible starters. Philly B did appear in 34 games over the past 2 seasons at Arizona. And he started for Serbia at the 2023 FIBA U19 World Cup. I did not know that. No CJ Nolan in that starting lineup. Maybe he might be somebody that comes off the bench.
That seems to be the thought right now.
Of those 2 coming off the bench, or those 2 starters.
It seems like Noland will come off the bench to start the season based on what we've seen and heard thus far.
Baker started most games last year. I expected really good things out of him. Kind of got hurt.
He did not start.
That's right. He came off the bench. Yeah, Rob Portnoy and Hunter Green on the call. Speaking of basketball, I want to at least throw some love to the women's basketball team, UNM women's basketball team. They played in the pit on Friday. A 78-54 victory is another exhibition game. Lobos got contributions from all 13 players in uniform and used a 19-0 run in the second and third quarters to take control. This is their final rehearsal. They had 2 exhibition games. Amaya Moreland scored 11 points for UNM. The Lobos did struggle early. They had a 21-17 lead over after the first quarter. And I just want to make sure I got right who they played. And it was
Northern Arizona, or no?
Western Colorado. The Western Colorado Mountaineers. Yeah.
The Lady Lobos play Northern Arizona for their opener on November 4th.
And that is in Albuquerque at 11 a.m. I did not know that. That will be on the Mountain West Network. I can't get to that game. I did not know that was their opener. You learn something every day. You know, when we had BJ Rains on at Mountain West Conference basketball media days, he came over and I was like, well, what do you know about the Boise State women's team? And he was like, on record, not a whole lot. I know Vianney Cumber, she's back with the team. Sandia Product, she's cool to talk to. And Mike Bradbury. So being remiss, I don't know much. I had the pleasure of covering Don Flanagan at my time at the Daily Lobo, and he was awesome. Seniors Alyssa Hargrove and Hulda Joaquim, I hope I pronounced that right, started at point guard, and Hargrove had 9 points, collecting 8 of the Lobos, 17 steals. Holy hell. Nyla Padilla and Vianney Cumber, 10 points apiece for the Lobos. Freshman Joanna Magalas contributed 4 points and 6 assists off the bench. I never have been one to.
And I wanted to give a shout out to incoming freshman guard on the team, Riza Poe. She's locally here from San Bruno, which is just 5 minutes up the road from me. Went to Sacred Heart Prep up in San Francisco near where I work. So we'll have to see if we can talk to her at some point and I can ask her about her Bay Area roots here. Played against some very good competition in San Francisco and was one of the best players in the whole Bay Area. So she's smaller in stature, but I expect her to become a pretty good Lobos player, and that's Riza Poe.
Blake Bradbury, this team last year was picked 6th. They finished 2nd. They got a big win at UNLV. I don't think they're going to lie down. I think he will probably restack, obviously 9 new players, which was kind of a little bit of controversy talking around the season. Speaking of women's basketball, Sandia guard Sydney Benelli, senior guard combo from Sandia High School, and one of the top returning players in the state for 2022-25, yesterday afternoon on Sunday announced she is going to my neck of the woods, Princeton, as her college destination. She beat out UNLV. Of course, we talked to Lindley LaRock. You can go find that on our YouTube channel 2 weeks ago at Mountain West Conference Basketball Media Days, and Northwestern, where Benelli were her other finalists. She had 25 overall offers. She's 5'9". She led Sandia to a Class 5A state championship in March and was New Mexico's Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior. She made an official visit to Central Jersey. A couple lengthy three-pointers from New York City in September. Benelli averaged 21.4 points, 6.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, threw almost 3 steals for the Matadors last season. She shot almost 54% from the field, plus 42% from the three-point line. Rick, you played the game. What about those stats?
As someone that did not make one three-pointer in high school career, that is insane. I was just scared to shoot the ball, or my coach would yell at me for taking a bad shot. So I can't imagine scoring that many points in high school or getting recruited to play, especially at an Ivy League school. So hats off to her. Obviously very intelligent, must have a great family support system, but also a very outstanding basketball player. Going to that school and getting a scholarship don't happen by accident.
No, especially not to somewhere like Princeton. Rick, thanks for joining. I know you got to hop off again. Thanks for joining twice tonight. I'll talk to you.
I'm just going to throw this out there. If anyone wants to live stream the game from their phone on Twitter or YouTube, you know where to find me. Have fun out there tonight, man.
I will. Thanks for joining. At Lobo Gabe, that's at you. Thanks, Rick. We'll talk to you later.
Richard.
I'm not an X's and O's guy when it comes to basketball, but I'm definitely looking to see some of the new guys, that possible starters. Philip Borvichinen, transfer from U of A. North Texas and U of A have some high. I lost my train of thought there. Fantastic once again for hosting the show. Some prestige basketball schools. North Texas has had a lot of success. They won a game in 2021. Joe Golden won with Abilene Christian. That kid that ran over did Hordes down when they beat Texas when the tournament was all in Indiana. But yeah, your starters tonight: Donovan Dad, True Washington, Philip Borvichinen, Mustafa Amzil, Nelly Jr. Joseph. Lobo football team coming off a 17-6 loss to Colorado State. Kind of disappointing. They will salute to service. It's salute to service day. On Saturday at 2 p.m. when they host Wyoming. Just looking about other things. Hey, join the conversation. You know this. YouTube, Twitter. That's where most people seem to be watching. We're on Facebook, but got a lot of people watching on YouTube and the artist formerly known as Twitter. We didn't really promote this very well on Facebook. Otani starting tonight. This Monday Night Football game is a disaster. I have hammered the Steelers because, good Lord, I know the Giants kind of play a little bit better on the road, but I was singing my word. I was singing Backstreet Boys earlier. Where you are, who you are, as long as you love me. LOL. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new invention. Something, grab a hold of me tightly. Amazing finish by the Commanders game. Jaden Daniels, Hail Mary throw. It was awesome. I don't care. Dan Snyder hold the team. I probably hated Washington more than Dallas at some point. Just terrible. And I'm going to go to this. Gail Robles again. You cannot watch the game tonight. It is only on Lobo Radio Network 96.3, 770 KKOB. Rob Portnoy, Hunter Green on the call. You cannot watch it anywhere. If anybody watches Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job. You cannot make call. You can not take calls. You can only receive calls on the Cinco phone. Nobody probably got that joke. Vanderbilt and Pavia are covering machine. Thanks for the tout, Ryan. I'll need to watch the portion of the show. Just got out of the salt mines. Go Donners again. Doyers again. Otani's playing tonight. Game 1 of the World Series, you dream about doing that stuff, Freddie Freeman. I know a lot of people hate the Dodgers, hate the Yankees. I think everybody but a Yankee fan was everybody but a San Francisco Giants fan and a Padre fan was probably a Dodger fan at that point. If you're a Red Sox fan, yes. Except for us run line bettors at Yankees +1.5, and they took the lead in the ninth. Phenomenal moment. When Freddie Freeman walked up to the plate, I knew his ankle had been, if you watch baseball like I do, and Jacob Neff, you knew that his ankle was hurting him. And it was right when he walked up, I was like, oh man, it's Kirk Gibson. And why Aaron Boone brought in Nestor Cortez. They walked Mookie Betts, but he got whoever out in front of him I don't know if it was Ohtani. But again, it was 2 outs. It was pretty bad. But I don't know, just what a cool moment. And I love basketball. I've never played. I always say this on here. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I love the history of stuff. And I love the NHL postseason, which is, I think, the most grueling. I think the MLB postseason is the most dramatic. I think what Manfred has done, it's just horrible. I don't know why they don't take advantage of Labor Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July better. I think they do a half-assed job. That game was probably one of the best World Series games ever, probably one of the best finishes in MLB history. But that was better than the entire 2024 NBA postseason in a nutshell. I'm excited to watch the Knicks. That's my MO. Don't come in here and tell me how great the NBA postseason is. I think it's trash. And yeah, that's a direct shot at David Kidenda, former UNM basketball player. Ronnie Chavez, awesome. Stanky fans yelling at Big Papi that he sucks on the Fox pregame show. That's awesome. I love it. That's right. They're in the Bronx tonight. I loved old New Yankee Stadium. New Yankee Stadium is like a shopping mall. I've been there 4 or 5 times. I was there when it opened. I was there when Citi Field and New Yankee Stadium opened. The only good thing about New Yankee Stadium is they tore down old New Yankee Stadium and put up Little League baseball and softball fields. I'll give Steinbrenner kudos for that. But when you walk in, I can't believe it's not built like in downtown Manhattan. It's like a shopping mall. If you're ever in New York, and this is not a biased comment, and the Yankees and Mets are home, do me a favor, go to Citi Field. It's fun. It's much better. I'm a diehard Giants fan, and I saw the Jets beat the Patriots in overtime at the end of the 2015 season. Ryan Fitzpatrick hit Eric Decker for a walk-off touchdown. Jets games are phenomenal. I had so much fun. I love still going to see the Giants in person. But as far as the atmosphere goes, the Jets game was great. It can't be beat. So if you guys don't think, those listeners, the usual suspects that are listeners, don't think that I'm objective. And yes, I am a little bit hard on UNM, as I always mention, and for good cause. That's just how I am. Again, you feel free to call the show or text the show. Nobody's called in. I'm probably going to wrap things up here. I want to thank Rick Thompson for joining, as always, every Monday at 4:20. And all jokes aside, I think I queued up Beavis and Butthead laughing, and I cannot find it. Where is it? I got it. Yeah. We had Ned James on at 4:20 today, and you can laugh at that. No sexual pun there either. He joins us 4:30 every Monday, and we're trying to stick to doing this, or I am doing this Monday at 4 p.m. To rival whatever the shit is on 610 at 4 p.m. And to recap the Lobo weekend. So we'll probably continue to do that throughout the basketball season. It's the summer, not so much, although we did talk about Lobo football a lot during the summer. And I like doing, just a quick recap. I never went to the old arena on Long Island, which they now built at it's HSBC Center, I think. It's in Belmont. It's by Belmont Stakes. I did see the Islanders play at Barclays Center, and Barclays Center was built for concerts and the Nets, and it is adjacent sideways when they had them there, much like what's going on with Utah, butchering the English language, Utah Hockey Club at the Delta Center or Delta Airlines Arena, whatever it is in Salt Lake City. It was adjacent. And then when I lived out there, my cousins played hockey, and I did not realize that the Islanders mascot was a dragon. I went to the old Meadowlands Arena, aka Continental Airlines Arena, or Izod Center. I saw the Devils play there a couple times. I've seen the Devils play many times in Prudential Center. That's where Seton Hall basketball plays. I love Prudential Center, even though it's in downtown Newark. That little area is at least cleaned up. I think people get a little freaked out when they hear downtown Newark, New Jersey. There's bars across the street. There's a really good barbecue place. But I never saw the Islanders play. I've never seen the Rangers play at MSG. I've seen the Knicks play at MSG. I've seen an Elite 8 game at MSG. I've seen the Liberty play at MSG. I saw the New York Liberty play like second or third season of the WNBA. I went with my mom and dad and a family friend. And that was one of my first times in New York City. But there was no one really in Madison Square Garden, so you could hear the subway and trains. When you're in there for other events, you can't hear that. And I'll be at MSG in about 4 weeks for the Madison Square Garden game, Madison Square Garden game when UNM takes St. John's. Nassau Coliseum. That's it. I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. I didn't Google it. No, I never went there. There's a really good 30 for 30 on the guy who bought the Islanders like in the late 90s, how he conned them. And he said he was like a wolf of Wall Street. Very good. Check it out. I got to look that up. 30 for 30 Islanders. It's narrated by Kevin Conley from Entourage. And he directed it. Big Shot. That's what it's called. I'm reading this right off the web. The true story of one of the biggest scams in history of professional sports. Dallas businessman John Spano briefly purchased control of the New York Islanders hockey team in the late 1990s, only to be exposed as a fraud. I definitely recommend that. I don't really care for what ESPN does anymore. I don't watch SportsCenter because it's LeBron, Yankees, and Cowboys. But 30 for 30 and College Game Day are the best. I absolutely love it. No, never been to Nassau Coliseum. Since you mentioned it, how about the Belmont Stakes? Ever been? No, not into horse racing. Don't understand it. Don't get it. It's not a PC comment. No, never been. Horse racing's not my thing as much as I love gambling on sports. Again, Lobo game tonight, 7:00, exhibition game, UTEP. I cannot stress enough how it is an event for charity. Proceeds from the game will benefit UNM's Children's Hospital. $10. Tickets are starting at $10. You cannot watch the game. You can only listen to the game. Lobo Radio Network. I'm excited for it. Not sure what kind of crowd will be there. They do open the season next Monday night against Nichols. Then following Friday, they are in Vegas at the artist formerly known as the Dollar Center, which I think is Lee's Family Forum now. Lee's Family Forum. Yep, it's Lee's Family Forum. And now that I see it, Miguel Sanchez, I have to go to it.
Miguel Sanchez.
Just saying hello. Ronnie Chavez, are they showing the World Series on the screen asking for a friend? LOL JK. I don't think they will be putting on the World Series. I'll call them later in small doses. Yeah, don't make me block you. Still not from another show. We are going to preview the Mountain West Conference season tomorrow night. We have Tom Moser on again. JJ Buck will join us. I don't know which night, Tuesday or Wednesday night. Talk Lady Lobos, UNM women's basketball team. He is the voice. You can obviously catch him on 95.9 and 6:10 a.m. on the opening drive with Mr. Jeff Symbieta on weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Appreciate everybody watching and listening on YouTube, Twitter. I'm going to watch some of whatever the hell Monday Night Football is and then head over to the game. Appreciate everybody watching you. Again, we'll be live tomorrow night and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and we'll continue to do the Monday show. And then you can catch us Saturday morning on the Morning Hal. Appreciate our sponsors, Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, Affordable Solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room, Hydro Bar, and Affordable Service, Heating, Plumbing, and Air Conditioning. They have all your HVAC needs. Appreciate everybody watching. Did my best airline pilot there, 35,000 feet, and we're getting ready to descend into New Orleans. Everybody have a great Monday night. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Enjoy the World Series. My name is Ryan Tamori on behalf of Eric Malton, Rick Thompson. I want to thank Ned James, Sam Guzman, KTSM Sports Director. I want to thank on behalf of now Ed Nunez, Nick Nunez, Eric Malton, Rick Thompson, Jacob Neff. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.